Good afternoon, Nevis. Good afternoon, St. Kitts. Good afternoon to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. My name is Alexis Jeffers, and I'm here once again for another edition of On Point for today, the 18th day of August 2023. And of course, it's a little bit past 1 o'clock, and time is flying so fast these days, not only on the clock but also on the calendar, because no one would have thought that we'd have been at this point this quickly for this year. The year is almost done. If you are not checking, we are just another 4 months before the year is done. But if you haven't accomplished a lot of things thus far for the year, you still have some time to get working and get busy and seek to accomplish what you have set out to accomplish this year. Indeed, it is my pleasure being here this afternoon. And while I'm at that, let me actually go through my greetings and, acknowledge the presence of persons down there in Statia, Saba, St. Martin, both French and Dutch St. Martin, and also the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. Puerto Rico, we have persons and divisions who are there listening as well. And of course, in the United States, from the East Coast all the way over to the West Coast, where they are now morning. They are usually, about 3 or 4 hours behind us. So it's still morning. Good morning to you there in California and Washington State and all those other states where we have persons over there in the West. Up in Canada, of course, Canada have different time zones as well. But of course, we have a lot of persons who are concentrated in the Toronto area. But to the whole of Canada, I say good morning or good afternoon. And of course, up in the United Kingdom and the whole of Europe, it's afternoon there. And I say good afternoon to you as well. Over in Asia, I always touch the Asian continent because we have students and persons who live there, who work there as well too. I say good morning to you. It's early morning, and I'm certain only those who are coming home from maybe a party or a fete, or there are some persons who are up studying or whatever the case might be, will be in tune at this time. But wherever you are, and wherever you're hearing the voice of Alexis Jeffers emanating from Von Radio, 860 AM or 93.7 FM, I say welcome. And this afternoon we'll have an hour program here with you, go through a few things. But of course, before I get too far, let me just acknowledge my good friend over there in Camps, Cassandra Jeffers. Tomorrow will be her birthday. She'll be celebrating, I wonder if she want me to say it. Man, yes, I'll say it. She'll be celebrating her 60th birthday. And anyone who knows Cassandra would say, well, somebody is telling lies. But I suppose the Jeffers are cut off of one of those good piece of cloth, where we show our youth well into our old age. And indeed, we're blessed with some longevity as well. So 60 years you are, Cassandra. I say celebrate as if there's no tomorrow. I know you're good, and I know you can celebrate when you get a chance to. So whatever you're planning, invite me now, and I'll be a part of it, because I would want to celebrate with you as well. But I know you'll be having something that you'll want to keep somewhat of a secret, but that's okay. I'll show up. Just give me the cue and I'll come. But enjoy the rest of your birthday and enjoy the rest of the month, because you have the license to do so. Anyone else who is celebrating at this time, I ask you to have a wonderful and phenomenal time, and also, most importantly, be safe about it. And anything you do that with some degree of control. Don't be excessive in any way, but have fun. Push it to the limit, but don't go overboard, as they say. In terms of bereavement, or those who are under any form of loss at this point, I express my sympathies to you. Anyone up there in the Alexandria Hospital, I say get well soon. We want you back up and about to continue your service to this our beloved island. So get well soon. That being said, I want to also remind the general public that we are in the middle of the hurricane season, of course. This is normally the peak period between the latter part of August and the month of September is what we consider to be the peak period. That's when most storms, even though we normally can get a storm well before September, Normally around September we'll expect to see some storms. We're hoping and praying that this will be one of those years when we're not visited by any major storm. Saying that though, we have been getting some rain in recent days because of some tropical systems that are passing through. We are happy for the rain, and indeed if we can get a couple of these systems for the rest of the year or until the 30th of November, we'll be certainly happy and thankful to the Almighty for that. But we always have to stay on our guard and be prepared for any eventuality. So that being said, let me say that I am thankful for the rain. The place is already looking nice and lush outside. It's apparent that it just takes a few showers to transform the landscape of Nevis, and that is what is taking place. There are persons out there who are angry with the Lord, though. I don't know why. I say it bluntly, because it seems like because we're getting some rain and the water situation is improving by a large measure, it seems as though some persons are not too happy. Why? I don't know. But I'll say this to you, and Nevis is where I was born and raised, and I love Nevis, and I want the best for Nevis. But the challenges we have been having over the last couple of months is nothing new to Nevis. It's nothing new to the Caribbean, whether it's or sub-region or the wider Caribbean, and it's nothing new to the world. We've been hearing about climate change, and many persons out there who seem to have the most knowledge about climate change talk about it every day. But I say to you that these are good examples of what we consider to be climate change. And what I realized over the last decade, for example, things that would normally take 20 years to happen, things that will normally take at least 40 years to happen, they're happening in just a few years these days. Things are just changing. The whole dynamic show of the world is changing. What we have been doing here on the island of Nevis, of course, we have been seeking to increase the amount of water that is delivered to our people, in the sense that the government was proactive back in 2017, and we've been saying it over and over and over again. But it bears repeating that the government would have invested and signed a contract for $10 million to, create or develop 3 additional wells here on the island of Nevis. $2 million was paid down to the Bead company. They took the money and didn't produce any wells. But that is something we keep saying. But to those out there who want to create mischief, that is no comfort. We are now seeking to get our monies back, and we are looking at alternatives in terms of the delivery of water here on the island of Nevis. But by and large, I know some persons would have been out of water on various nights. I don't know of any community on the island of Nevis that is out of water for a week or 3 days or 4 days without water. If that is the case, someone need to let me know, or let the government know, because I can't recall hearing that being the case here in Nevis. Right next to us, our neighbors are bawling every day, crying out every day, because in some cases there are communities in various countries close to us and islands close to us that haven't seen water for 3 weeks. I don't want that to happen to Nevis, of course, but I bring that to the fore to let the people of Nevis know that we have our challenges, yes, and we are working on mitigating those challenges. But I can say to you that while we are here complaining about one night of no water, there are people there who are complaining for weeks that they haven't seen water. But we'll get to a better situation, I'm sure, in short order. Knowing the concerned citizens movement in government, they continue to work and to ensure that they bring relief to the people of Nevis in all areas, whether it is water, whether it's electricity, whether it is through social programs, which we have some of the best social programs here on Nevis or throughout the sub-region. And people are now mimicking, copying, or trying to duplicate what we're doing here on the island of Nevis in their own country or in their own islands. And so I know for a fact that Nevis is way ahead of many other islands, many other countries, and that is why I am proud to be a Nevisian and proud to be living on this island. But that is something that we'll continue to work at in terms of ensuring all of the necessary systems and amenities that we are accustomed to continue to be of optimum level for the people of Nevis. So that is our mandate, and we'll continue to work towards that as well. Now, I I want to also say that, of course, this past Sunday was the convention of the Concerned Citizens Movement. It was held down there at the NIPAC. And of course, we had a very good turnout. And the interesting thing is that for the whole of this week, the Concerned Citizens Movement convention was front and center in the conversations here on the island of Nevis of the opposition. I don't know why. But anyway, people talk about good things and they turn good things and want to twist it to make it sound the way they want it to sound. But what has happened has already happened, meaning we've had a great convention down there at the NIPAC, and of course the new executive of the party was confirmed, and there is a press release to be issued on that. I believe I was told that some of the professional pictures that were taken there were some difficulties in developing those, and those should be available to the party in short order. No need to put out a press release with some pictures from any phones or anything like that. We want them to be professional and a reflection of the party, the Concerned Citizens Movement. But we had a wonderful time. I want to thank the delegates and contingent from St. James. I invited you to come out, and you did come out in your numbers. As a matter of fact, I'm proud to say that St. James had the largest delegation there, and I say kudos to you. I want to clap. Thank you for coming. I certainly appreciate that. And you know, when we roll heavy, you know, we roll big, and we roll with a sense of purpose. So I want to thank everyone for coming out and for showing their support to the Concerned Citizens Movement. Of course, you had a good delegation there from all of the other constituencies, including St. John's, St. George's, St. Paul's, and also St. Thomas Parish. I hope I call all five. So we had a good afternoon there. We had entertainment, and we had speeches that were delivered from persons from the different constituencies, and the energy was good. And of course, like I said, the convention has been the talk of the town, talk of the opposition for the last week. And of course, they had a convention some time ago, and I can't recall anybody from the Concerned Citizens Movement even looking over their shoulder to wonder what was that. Yeah, we don't look at people's book. We look into our own book. As a matter of fact, I recall some time ago someone said they were in class sitting down and peeping over in someone's book, and that person was putting down some wrong answers, some incorrect answers. 2 + 2 = 5, for example. But we know 2 + 2 = 4. Let's get it right. But that person who was there was putting down the wrong answers, and then this guy was there copying all of the answers. And then when it's all said and done, they got everything wrong, and the same person went and erased all of the incorrect answers and put down the right answers, and they got it all correct. So it is not a wise thing to look into people's book. That is why they say it's not good to plagiarize. You know, you stick with what you know, and we are sticking with what we know as a party, and we're delivering as we know as a party. And that is why the Concerned Citizens Movement continue to be a successful party in and out of government. At least I believe the Premier would have been eloquent enough to indicate we've had so many elections over the last almost 30 years, 30 plus years. Since 1992, I believe he said it was 16 elections, and the Concerned Citizens Movement have won 15 of those 16. So it means NRP would have won an election in 2006, and then by 2013 they were out of government, and they had to cheat one in between the two, you know. They had to steal one in between, but the judge catch them and say, catch you, and made it null and void, made a candidate or a representative in a constituency in St. John's then null and void. So we had to do a rerun. And when the rerun came, the people of Nevis in their overwhelming numbers. And so we are proud of our record as a party, and irrespective of what the discussions may be, irrespective of what they may say about the Honorable Mark Brantley or myself or Eric Evelyn or anybody, Spencer or anyone else, we are committed to the development of the island of Nevis, and we are committed through all of the challenges and all of the difficulties to ensure that we deliver to our people. And the results are there to show. Increased employment, A lot of effort is being put into agriculture. A lot of effort is being placed into construction. We have done a lot of things to encourage construction in terms of first-time home owners concession. And at least there is also concession available to persons who are renovating anything over $30,000. You get duty-free concession as well. I encourage persons to go to the Ministry of Finance and ask questions. Do not proceed to do anything when it comes to construction without asking a question at the Ministry of Finance. Because you see, these are the things that the NRP will not tell you, even though they know. They don't want you to benefit. You know why? Because they want to say nothing is happening. So they wouldn't educate their people. And some of their people have gotten jobs with the government, and they insult them, they ridicule them, they say the worst things about them simply because they have qualified for a job with the government. But them same people who they're cussing and ridiculing have tell themselves and have told me and told other persons they would never vote for NRP again. So I go and cuss them. But there are good things happening on Nevis. All you have to do as a people is ask questions. You have the Premier Mark Brantley who is there. He's the head of cabinet, the head of the island, or the leader of this island. He has the answers. You can ask Eric Evelyn, who is a minister of government. You can ask Spencer Brand, who is also a minister, Honorable Janelle Nisbet, and all those who are in the cabinet there. You can ask me as well, because if I don't know, I will call one of those ministers and ask them a question as well, so that I can provide you with an answer. But do not be fooled by anyone who keeps saying nothing happening, nothing happening. They know why they're saying nothing is happening. Nothing happening for them because they ain't making nothing happen for them. But I say to you, do not be fooled, because Nevis have a lot to offer, and there are persons who I talked to even up to yesterday and told me that they're having a phenomenal time in terms of the type of work they're getting both here on Nevis and on St. Kitts. They have no complaints whatsoever. And as such, they're taking advantage of the opportunities. And that's what I'm encouraging all of our young people to do. When opportunities come knocking, don't shy away from them. Don't turn your back. Grab them with both hands. I always talk about myself. Over my years of living, whatever opportunity have come, I've grabbed it with both hands, and I've been a successful individual as it is, in my own way. Some may judge me otherwise, but I tell you I'm successful, and it's because I don't let an opportunity pass me at all. That being said, I want to look at quickly, before I get into what I have to say, regarding all the water taxi facilities, one that is still the talk of the town, you know. They talk about it morning, noon, and night. It seems as though this thing keep bothering the NRP, bothering the NRP, and they still use it. And you see them walking on and off the pier out there and stepping in the high heels and low heels, you know, and having a wonderful time when they're going across, because they know they're safe, and they're walking in quality, and they're walking and stepping towards a boat that is going to offer them safe and secure passage to St. Kitts, So they keep talking about it, but the more they talk, the more the results are there to show, because I have looked at the numbers, or I received the numbers from NASPA. Thank you very much, NASPA, for the update. And of course, I'm always asking government entities what is happening there and what is happening here, that kind of thing, because I want to be educated for sure. In July of this year, some phenomenal numbers. Departures were 11,533 persons. Arrival, 11,412 persons, for a grand total of 22,945 persons. Let me go back to my book, because I keep in a running tab, you know. And why I keep in a running tab? Because I believe up to the end of June we had about 122,000 persons. Let me see if I can find it. As I'm looking, I'm going to continue talking, because these numbers are important to me, and they're important to the island of Nevis, because when they say nothing happen, people come in and people go in, and they're not just jumping on the boat and going somewhere where they don't have any reason to go. They have good reasons to get on the boat to go to St. Kitts. Good reasons to get on the boat to come to Nevis. Because Nevis have action, St. Kitts have action. And when it's all said and done, there's action taking place on both islands. And the young men and young women and the workers, whether at Park Hyatt, whether at some other business place down there, Marriott, whether it's down in Boston somewhere, people are moving back and forth. I can't seem to find those numbers, but I believe at the end of June, we would have seen a grand total of 122,000 persons who would have moved back and forth on that pier over there. Now, if you add this 22,000, we're up to 144,000 plus persons who would have, traversed that particular pier over the last 7 months. July will make 7 months, so I'm going to keep a running tab, and I'll get the exact figure, if not by the end of this program, hopefully by next week. But I just received that data, so I just decided I'll let the general public know. So 22,900, and let me pull that up again so that it's there in the records. And this is for July. 22,945 persons. And if persons are checking as well, in June, it was 22,844. So just about 100 persons. There's 100 persons difference in terms of an increase of just about 100 persons in July of this year over June. So I'm going to add that to the grand total, and I'll get back to that another time. But the reason why I bring that up, I've been keeping at this for a reason, because every time I look at these numbers, I see possibilities. I see possibilities for businesses to capitalize, or whether existing businesses or new businesses. And when I say new businesses, the opportunity is there for anyone to come up with something creative to capitalize on these persons who are moving back and forth, whether it's through arrival or departures. And I gave the I gave the suggestion some time ago that all of these people are there who are playing bright, not playing bright. They said it bright, not me. I didn't say a thing. They said it bright. This is a way of them going over there and maybe selling. Imagine selling 1,000 bottles of water. 1,000 bottles of water at $3 a bottle. That's $3,000, On top of that, you add another 1,000 bags of nuts at $5 a bag. That's 5,000. Oh my goodness. In a month, in 1 month, selling to 1,000 persons, that's $8,000, Well, you got to deduct your expenses, of course. That is gross. But when you look at what you can get, negotiate a price for the water, for example, whether it's water from Nevis Spring water, whether it's from Nelson Spring, whether it's from whomever, you can negotiate. I'm sure they'll be willing to negotiate if you're buying in bulk. And then you can sell your water out there right at the gate. You can sell out there and you make your money. There's room for many, room for all. But I'm putting this to those who out there who have all of the ideas, all of the say, all of the prescriptions for development here in the island. They have all that, but they have nothing to show in terms of action. Pure words, pure rhetoric. Trying to run Nevis from a textbook, it seems like. You pick up a textbook and you read something and you say, oh, blue economy, orange economy. Well, what are you doing to demonstrate to the people of Nevis that you know what you're talking about? But since you don't have any intention to go down that road, I'm giving you ideas. Ideas to capitalize on that 144,000 people who would have moved back and forth. The boatmen are making money. Those boat operators are making money. And I don't want to count their money, but they're making a lot of money. And of course, NASPA is making some money as well too. But what else can be done by you who keep talking every day about having all of the knowledge, whether in the environment, whether in agriculture, whether in veterinary services, whether in education, whatever? Do you have a school that you run yourself to? Do you have one? You can start your own school. Whatever you can do, there are things that you can do. When you go out and you get higher education, it means that you're increasing your capacity and your intellect to go out there and be an independent person to produce for the island of Nevis. Not come back here to depend on the people of Nevis and depend on taxpayers and depend on getting into government or in and around government to make some money. You can't tell me that anything about employment, because I don't have a doctorate, but I could tell you this much: I know how to create employment. Done so before and can do it again. And I have business ideas. But anyway, let's leave that, because when it's all said and done, I might be preaching to a choir that is not listening in terms of those out there who celebrate, because they're hell-bent on getting into government. And the rhetoric that you're hearing these days The profanity that you hear coming from some airwaves and some radio stations, it tells me that they are so angry. So angry that they didn't get into government. So angry that they won't see government either, because as much as they're talking, 5 years from now is a long time. Well, it's about 4.5 years now. 4.5 years is a long time. And when we hear them talking, it sounds like it's next week is election. Well, I tell you that this party in government, the CCM, have a lot of work to do, so a lot of time is left for us to get it done, and a lot of time is there for you to wait. Yeah? So you could make all the noise you want. If I were you, I would tone it down and go and find something to do and make yourself useful and find a purpose that is going to be worth it when it's all said and done. I'm sorry I'm going on this road this afternoon, but anyway, because, let me leave it as that for now. But anyway, let's go back to what I wanted to talk about. In that, I want to say this afternoon how happy and elated I am. And when I say happy and elated as to the results, but of course we're all on the stress and duress over the weekend when we heard that 4 young persons from Nevis were lost at sea, in the persons of Mr. Kyle Hanley, Casio Tote Williams, and Garfield Jeffers, we call him Sobers. And also there was a young lady, I think they said her name is Diamond, I don't know her. But of course, all of them were missing at one point. Sunday evening, we went to bed late in the evening into the morning with the stressful thoughts, of not being able to see these persons again, because the reports that were floating around Facebook, and that is why personally, if you check me on Facebook, I have no news to bring. I'm not a newsman. I don't go on second-hand information. I look for information from credible sources. And when I say credible sources, I mean those agencies here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis that are mandated to provide and update the general public regarding events and activities or happenings in the Federation. For example, NEMA on St. Kitts, or the disaster management here on Nevis. If those persons put out an advisory or any sort of information, then I'm inclined to listen. I am inclined to believe, because that is the credible source. So until later on Monday, that is when the information came, and we were quite happy to learn of these 4 persons being rescued, found, or they were safe. Let's say they were safe ultimately, because I don't know the full details of what may have happened. But all I know, they returned to Nevis on Monday afternoon, and we were all, family, friends, everyone were happy and elated to know that these 4 persons were safe and sound. 3 here on Nevis, and of course, the young lady may have stayed in St. Kitts. But I want to say there are certain things that I want us all to be cognizant of and remind ourselves of, and that is the fact that those of us who intend to go, on boats, whether fishing, whether on leisure trips, or whether on trips to St. Martin and Anguilla, neighboring islands, whatever the case might be, I want us all to understand that safety is not a choice. It is a responsibility. It is not a choice. It is a responsibility. And by that I mean you must have the necessary equipment and items that would can be utilized in the event of any challenges or in the event of a disaster of any sort. So I say that to say this, that things like GPS, things like handheld radio, if they can last, I doubt if people use those now. People carry most of cell phones, but cell phones tend to lose their power. And of course, there are things like flare guns that can be used in the evening, in the day as well too, but of course more so in the evening if you were to try and alert a craft, maybe an aircraft or maybe another boat, and you're in those dark waters. Of course your life jacket and buoys and rope and any flotation device, you certainly would want to have those with you. You cannot have too many pieces of equipment with you. Everything that you possibly would need in the event, you need to take it with you. Water and food items, whatever type of items you can carry, perishable goods, that is, or non-perishable goods, sorry. Well, I'm getting mixed up with that, but you understand what I mean, things that can last, I also want to say that we should always continue to have information being made available to our seamen and sea women. Training and all that should be a continuous thing, so that at least the effort is being made to do so. And when these things become available, these training sessions, I encourage all of our fishermen, all of our boat owners, our sea persons, whatever you do on the ocean, I want you to take advantage of them, because they can become useful when the time comes. And we never know when the time will come, because you can be sailing out to sea right now, calm waters, and then all of a sudden you're in some kind of weather system where you can't even see the palm of your hand good. Yeah, so you can be caught up in one of these systems and you don't know where you are. But if you have a GPS, for example, that can make a huge difference. I don't know what the cost of those are. I know when I was the Minister of Marine Resource, we would have gotten some equipment, pieces of equipment and devices that we would have distributed to our fisher folks here on the island of Nevis. That being said, there is never a cost that is too much for you to pay to save your life. So if a GPS costs $300 for example, I say get it, because it could be that piece of device for $300 that save your life in the end. So that being said, it's good to know that all of these folks were eventually safe and returned back to the Federation, and indeed all of them have their role to play in the overall development of the island of Nevis. So when we can secure our resources, or human resource, that is, it is an important thing, because they're at an age where they definitely are contributing and will continue to contribute through the help of God. So we thank God as well, as I mentioned, that for all that he has done over the last week and weekend, for example, to ensure that these young men and women would have come back to us safely. So we'll leave that and we'll move on to something else. Ladies and gentlemen, in the last week as well too, it seems as though the conversation on all of the media platforms and even on the radio station, NRP radio station, for example, has been along the lines of Herbert Beach, the lands up there at Herbert Beach and the Herbert Beach affair. We touched on that last week, but it seems as though some people just can't get enough. And as I said before, when they talk about Herbert Beach or any issue, we can talk to, and we'll continue talking, because of course if they twist it and turn it, we'll come back and straighten it out. That is the long and the short. If they twist and turn, we'll come and straighten it out, because you see, the lands down there at Herbert Beach, it seems as though it is bothering some people in the NRP big time. I said last week that my understanding is that there were plans afoot to sell out those lands, get condominiums, villas built down there. I think all of these sinister plans were being hatched. But anyway, God knows best. And he gave us a government that will protect those lands, at least for the foreseeable future, because that will not be the case. And I said last week as well, not every square foot of land on the island of Nevis has to be put out there for development by someone who comes in here and say they have a hotel development or some other form of development. The people of Nevis also need to hold on to lands that we consider to be precious lands for the benefit of us today and for future generations to come. What is so difficult in that for anybody out there in the island of Nevis, or anyone who is a citizen of Nevis, to understand? Not every piece of land on the island of Nevis is available for development. Not every piece. There must be something that is held back for our people to enjoy and for our future generations to enjoy. So that being said, we understand the history behind Herbert Beach. We understand that the previous owner would have gotten those lands somewhere around 1984, and those were lands, I believe, handed down by his father or someone prior to him, because I remember the days when I was a young man growing up. My grandfather was friendly with a gentleman who used to oversee that estate, a gentleman by the name of Chero. I don't remember his first name, but we used to call him Chero. He used to wear some nice white shirts. My grandmother used to iron those same shirts for the gentleman as well. He used to come brick hill on his donkey and pick up his shirts and gone back down to those lands down there at Herbert Beach. They used to call it another name, I remember now. The previous owner, his last name was Burton. But in my days coming up, I used to hear my grandfather say, going down to Button. I thought it was a button on your shirt. Yeah? But it's Burton. I further found out it was Burton was the last name. I don't remember the first name. But anyway, he used to be Cherry used to oversee those lands. So he used to come Brick Hill, collect his stuff. And we used to go down too. And there were a lot of what we call Jopain mango down there. Those of you who know Jopain mango, a lot of jelly cheese, and we used to go down and pick up coconut and mangoes and that kind of thing. Down there used to be dark, like in the 12 o'clock in the day, it used to be dark. So you see crabs crawling around down there in the sand and everything. I had a nice little upbringing, so I remember these things. But anyway, Seth Foster would have gotten those lands back in 1984 through a license. We call it an alien land holding license. And on the back of that license, it gives you some conditions. One of those conditions is that you have to construct on those lands within 18 months. Well, 1984 to now, that's about 39 years. We gain our independence in 83. We'll celebrate our 40th anniversary this year. So that's about 39, call it 40 years. I want everybody in Nevis to go down there, jump in your vehicle and go down there, see if you see any hotel down there, any condos down there, any villas down there, any foundation dug, any piece of concrete. Nothing at all has happened over those years. Fast forward, I'm not going to dwell on that, but the bottom line is there was an entity that supposedly started negotiation, wanted to buy those lands since 2004. By 2008, they placed a down payment of 10% down. The lands were being sold for $1.8 million. So they made that down payment of $180,000, and by the time 2017 came around, not one additional penny was paid for those lands. Of course, there were court hearings that went all the way to the Privy Council, and of course the Privy Council would have thrown that out, and it's all said and done. That's done. We hear of a judgment, default judgment of $79 million US. Well, the people of Nevis will not be paying anything. We owe for the lands, which is $2.4 million US, and we'll pay for it. But I'll say this to you, and I said it last week and I'll say it again. With all this talk, NRP is up and down defending that particular, not defending, but making an issue out of this acquisition. The only acquisition that was made by the Concerned Citizens Movement in government. I was the Minister of Land since 2013 until 2022, and that is the only piece of land that was acquired under my leadership as the Minister of Lands and the Minister of Agriculture. But prior to that, in 2006 to 2013, NRP acquired 14 pieces of Nevis people land, poor people land. I'm talking about poor people who had piece of land handed down to them from their mother, their father, their grandmother, their grandfather, handed down from generation to generation. I'm saying, if you had a little quarter-acre land up there in Stony Grove, or up in Hamilton, or over in Cohoon, or wherever it was, even over in the St. James area, if you had a piece of land and the NRP wanted it, they came for it. They came for it. So they acquired 14 pieces of land, and you know what? They didn't pay a soul one penny. Not one soul got a penny for those lands. I said it last week that there was a lady who called this radio station, and she cried her heart out about her piece of land up there by Club Trenham. Never got any compensation. And I'm here to tell you, we did take care of that when we got into government. But when you talk about poor people and their piece of land, where they have that sentimental attachment, NRP see you with it and they feel like you shouldn't have it, they take it away. And even if they take it away and they decide they ain't paying you, they don't pay you. They enter into sales and purchase agreement with persons, and they felt that they weren't going to pay, they didn't pay. There are lots of pieces of lands in Nevis where the NRP would have entered into purchase and sales agreement and didn't pay. And I can call names, because up there in Hamilton, 7 acres of lands were purchased from Dr. I forgot the last name. When we came into government, we got calls. We got calls every single week. When am I going to get my money? You know what we had to do? We had to subdivide that same 7 acres of land and sold it back out to the general public to raise the funds to pay the gentleman. Mark you, the corporation was I would say, flat broke at that point in time. Flat broke. And I'm not going to cut any corners and mince any words with it, because they know how they left it. They know how they left it. They know how they met it to start with, and they know how they left it. So we went and we subdivided these lands and sold it back out to the general public so we can pay the gentleman. Not only that, over there in Kuhun, you know, you see that housing development over there? We have phase 1 and phase 2. When we came into government, phase 1 was under construction. No roads, nothing. So what you see out there now was done under our administration, the Concerned Citizens Movement. They say government is continuous, so, you know, I suppose that's what it is. But with all the talk, the truth must be told, and I'm going to speak what I know, and I'm not going to come here and tell a soul a lie. But we go back to Kuhun. I believe it was about, if I'm not mistaken, almost 10 acres of land or more. Well, whatever the acreage was, let me give you an idea as to what it was, or what it is. You have phase 1, and then you have phase 2. Where you see those asphalt roads over there in Kuhun Estate, where that housing development is, that is phase 1. Phase 2, we took it to another level where we said we're going to use concrete road instead, because I love to see concrete roads. They're much nicer in terms of the longevity, and also in the evening when you have those street lights turned on, it's like it reflects the light. It looks much nicer anyway, and it's safer as well too. But those lands stretch over the gut, going over that big gut. We even paid for gut over there as well too. Even the gut we paid for. So we came into government, and first phase, the owner of those pieces of land, or that piece of land, she was paid, I believe, less than $1 million, about $700,000, $750,000. By the time we negotiated with the second landowner, she said she wanted 2 days' price, meaning the current price for those lands, because they had an opportunity to pay then when it was at a different price. They failed to negotiate, so we had to come up with well over $1 million to pay for those lands. Second phase, where you see those beautiful houses are. Those are lands that the NRP went and took from people, you know. Same thing down there by the playfield, the cotton ground playfield. They took lands down there and never compensated. Maybe one person was compensated, but we had to finish the compensation package for them. So you took people's land, and you don't feel no way about it. We went up to Herbert Beach, lands that were being sought after by many. Up to the point in time, there was this lady, Mrs. Bass, who wanted to buy those lands. So the NRP is saying to us, they would have feel better for Mrs. Bass to buy those lands, fence it up, keep out the people of Nevis, keep out the people of St. James, and when it's all said and done, there was nowhere for us to go and have a bath, to have some recreation, or have nowhere to call our own over there in the Herbert Beach or St. James area. That's what the NRP wanted, and that's what they would have allowed. Because if they can come and take your land, your private land, your personal land here as a division, with no regards for what you own, no regards for the sentimental attachment you have for it, no regards for who you have it for in terms of your son, your daughter, to be handed down to your grandchildren, no regards for that. But they have regards for someone who had a piece of land for 39 going on 40 years, did nothing with it, when in truth and in fact he should have been there providing jobs and everything for the people of Nevis. But you think they stopped there? Friends and family got lands exchanged right up there in Stony Grove area. Government Road, Stony Grove area. Who had a 1/4 acre, get a 1/2 acre. Who had 10,000 square feet, get 16,000 square feet. Family members were being taken care of. And I'm not going to stop there, like I go talk about lands all day. Because I told the cabinet of the Nevis Island administration in 2013, you see this matter pertaining to lands? All the government prior to us would have had difficulties. This current system administration under me, myself, as the Minister of Lands, will have no such issues. I don't want a government land, and none of you inside there around this table don't get none either. And I meant it, and I stuck to it. I got enemies as a result too, but that's okay. The bottom line is, over those 10 years, no one can say that the CCM would have ill-treated anyone when it comes to lands. Not lands. You could talk about anything else and we'll have an argument and discussion about it. But when it comes to lands, the NRP cannot be talking about lands in Nevis. You all shut up. You all have no moral authority to talk about any lands here on the island of Nevis. Why? Up there in Nugent Heights and Nugent Village. There are poor people in the island of Nevis right now who can't even get a title for their lands. When the CCM would have bought over 700 acres of lands, sold 600 acres of those lands, realized $58 million for those lands, who get all the money? NRP get all. CCM got out of government just shortly after the sale was done, or the purchase was done. $58 million up there. And you know what? All of their friends and family, daughter, sister, child, everybody don't get the title, you know? Poor people are ball mother for the title right now. Why? They sent these blank COTs to Trinidad because, you know, Trinidad is wholly the parent title. They're not paying for the land, but they're sending down these titles. Trinidad feel good because $27 million out of that $58 million was put in Scotiabank as security. People felt good in Trinidad. It was, I think the money was borrowed from a credit union down there. Felt good, interest-bearing account. When NRP found out about this $27 million sitting down in Scotiabank, you know what they did? They went down there and they slam on it, they jump into it, they take it out. Spend off all of it. And not paying the people in Trinidad up to when we came into government and they realized what's going on, they said no more. They're not signing off for no more titles. But up to that point in time, up at Royal Palm, Coconut Palm, whatever they call it up there, Jessup's, daughter, children, everybody get their title up there. Come up to Nugent Heights, some of them who have children, they had exchanges done for lands up there at Nugent Heights. They get the title. Friends and family and everybody else get the title. But the poor people who went to the bank to borrow their money couldn't get it. They still ain't get the title. We are paying Trinidad $21,500 US a month. And since I know I was a minister up to when I left, we would have paid almost $6-point-something million to Trinidad to cover that mortgage. So we are almost there. Not there yet, but we are almost there. And we want to say that when people do things as a government, whether it was 2006, whether it was 2000, there are implications for generations to come. So whatever they did in 2009, we're feeling, we're reaping the whirlwind right now. Because here people are still balling for their titles. As a matter of fact, we were able to negotiate with a certain bank here on the island. Not all banks would have, seen it our way. The banks here on the island want to see the physical title. There's a particular institution who said, you know what, we'll take a letter of undertaking so as to issue a mortgage to those persons who are unable to get their title. That's why some of those houses were built up at Nugent Heights. That's a good government trying to work every possible angle to ensure that its people can have some relief and move on with their life. You think NRP thinks so? I said already, NRP, you're the least among us to talk. You shouldn't talk about lands. Leave lands alone. And Janice Daniel, if you don't know what's going on in Nevis, I beg you to please leave lands alone. Do not call my name. Because you're talking things that you don't know about. You were fast asleep out there for 20 years. You should have been following NRP or else you not jump into bed with them. But they always say when a person tell you who they are, take them at their words. But when they show you who they are, you better believe them. And I'm believing everything that I'm hearing coming out of NRP in terms of who they are. Because listen, they care nothing about the people of Nevis. They tell you, what they say? NRP best for Nevis? I tell you already, NRP best to keep from. Keep from NRP because all they think about is themselves. You think they have any interest? You hear them all the balling mother? You think they have interest to come in here and secure lands for you? I see lands written all over their face. All they want is to put their hand on Nevis people land. And if they get their hand on the treasury down in the waterfront there in Charleston Harbor, you're going to fish it out from. Because I tell you, this NRP have no interest in moving the island of Nevis forward. They came to you. Change the government, change. But where was the manifesto to say what you'll do when you get in? Up to now I hear them say what they're going to do, everything is to criticize CCM. Well, of course, if CCM is doing, you have to be critical. We say we're going to build the airport, they criticize it. We say we're going to continue with the development of the water taxi facility, they criticize it. We say we're going to do this, or anything we say we're going to do. We talk about desalination plant, they have all of the criticisms to put out. But I always say to the people of Nevis and to the CCM, of course, they say ignore the noise, me say ignore the ignorant. Okay, I think they're very ignorant people, they are. And all I'm going to say, I can speak this way because I speak with authority when I come here, because I know what I've done in government and I know what I try not to do, and to get myself involved in things that are not consistent with what the people of Nevis would want done. What the people of Nevis want done are people who are going to work on their behalf. And when it comes to land matters, land issues and land matters, the CCM and under my leadership, we have worked hard on behalf of the people of Nevis to ensure that we deliver on lands. Because listen, I told you already, it's one piece of land we acquired, but I know we bought many pieces. I'm a shrewd negotiator. But we were able to buy lands in Brownhill, we bought lands in Prospect, we bought lands in government road, Craddock Road, we bought lands up in Hamilton, we bought lands down in Rice's, we bought lands, where else? Over in the Coon area, we bought lands all up and down Nevis. Up in Ghana's, we bought lands all over Nevis. Because my mantra was always, land is a precious commodity. People die for land throughout the world. Because lands are something that most people would want to get their hand on. So if persons have their land, it is important to treat them with respect and dignity, and that is why we did things differently. And that is why NRP did things their way, because their way is, if you have it and they need it, they take it from you. And that's what they did. Just take people, and instead of negotiating with them, they went and take it away. Because they have the powers under the law. The ordinance give the Nevis Island Administration the powers to acquire land. But in my opinion, that should be the last resort. You should always try to negotiate. And that's what we're trying to do over there at the airport in terms of negotiating with the landowners over there. All of a sudden I hear that Alexis Jeffers, they say, is out there bullying people out of their land. That is what they said. And when I hear that, I say, my gosh, Alexis Jeffers? And I just tell you all how many pieces of land I negotiated to buy. Me bully people out of their land? No such thing, because I wouldn't want anybody to come and do that to me. So what you don't like, you don't give. So I am saying that we have always operated with some level of decency, honesty, and pride about what we do. And when Nevis people have their land, we encourage them to own more, not own less, not take away their lands. And if we need their lands, we'll approach them and tell them, listen, we're interested in your lands, whether for housing, whether for the airport expansion, or whatever the government has plans for. We will negotiate, because I do believe that people must have that connection, and must maintain that connection, I should say, to their lands. And you all must take this thing seriously, you know. Take it seriously as Nevisians. When people come and take your land, you can't have no respect and no regard for them. We're not taking anybody's land, but we're going to negotiate as a government, a CCM government. But NRP, as I know it, take away people land left, right, and center. And when they take it away, like how they ain't like people so, they just tell us that they're not pay them. Not going to pay them. The records are there. We're talking from facts. We're not making up anything. And just so some of them in the NRP think that government land is theirs and want to hold on it and say they go in court, go make noise for land what don't belong to them, even though the government name is on the title, they say my land it is, they're going to fight for it. A lot of madness and mad people in this place, but I'll tell you this much. People of Nevis, we dodged a bullet in December of last year. A serious bullet. That one that was meant for the CCM and the people of Nevis. But we dodged it all. I was not successful, that's fine. But my government, my party was successful, and that is enough for me. Because when it's all said and done, I don't think I can sit here and say I lost because the people lost faith in me. Kind of money will be in the back over them. You know, got them kind of thing there, but even if my dog them start to back that much, you ain't gonna spit out them kind of money there. So the kind of money that was backing, I couldn't handle them things there. But if that's how you intend to buy elections, and when then you cannot produce for the people, you can't do anything for the people, I say, well, go ahead. That's how you intend to win. I intend to put my plans to the people of St. James at any time. I'm not saying that this is an election time, because in I feel like an election tomorrow, but any day I'm asked, if I'm asked to put my agenda to the people. I put it again. My record is there. Well, my record is there to show, and I have proven time and time again that the people of St. James mean more to me than even me myself. Because when I get up in the morning, I think about the people of St. James and what I can do for them, and what I can do to advance their lives. I'm not perfect. I've never been perfect, and there's no perfect being. But when it's all said and done, if you're looking for progress, stick with the system. If you think you want to throw away what you have gained, if you want to throw away what you have gained, well, I'm not saying go to the NRP, but that's what you'll do if you ever think about it. Because they don't have no interest, no inclination, or nothing of that sort to tell me that they want to look out for the people of Davis. Anyway, I want to move on quickly. I think time is almost upon us. I think this hour is getting shorter and shorter. Getting shorter and shorter. But anyway, if I am to come here and spend 2 hours, there'll be so much to talk about. I still wouldn't want to leave anyway. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say to you this afternoon, I just touched on some land issues. There are many other things we love to touch on, yeah? But when people come, yeah, I should question them, you know. Question them about the same thing I talk about down there at Nugent Heights and Nugent Village, where they collected over $58 million for lands down there, and yet still people can't get a title. We're still paying Trinidad. That is so irresponsible. Mark you, that corporation, that NHLC was rich, you know, at that point. Rich. It was so rich that those who were in charge employed their mother, the father, the cousin, the sister, the brother, the uncle, every possible person who could dip into the coffers of the NHLC. They offer them little thing. Mother was cleaning houses. Brother was doing this, ordering stuff from America. Boy, I tell you, it's the most despicable things I've ever seen. The most despicable things. I'm not going to go any further with that, but I just tell you that you almost remember your history. Some may come today and tell you, oh, water and I run electricity off here and there, but that is just a sideshow. As a voter here on the island of Nevis, and over the next couple of years we'll always be talking, you have to examine people. Examine them. If they have some success in their life, you would understand that success will be translated into government. But if they are failures in their life, bet your life if they get close to government, they're pure failures they're going to be. And failures to the point where the island of Nevis will reap the whirlwind, because when it's all said and done, all they are about is money, 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 government, government, government. And in that equation, you don't fit into it. But I'll leave it there for now, because I think I'm almost out of time. I might watch this curriculum at 1 minute or so. I want to thank everyone for listening. We've always come here and tried to, spend the hour, the lunch hour, and just impart some knowledge, touch a few issues. This afternoon I decided I was going to touch lands. But I also want to close by saying, listen, Nevis is the most precious thing that all of us have. Whether you're a resident, whether you're a citizen, whether you're a visitor, you come, enjoy the amenities that we have to offer here. Enjoy Nevis. I believe Nevis is the best place on earth. I normally get up, like I say, when I go to conferences and say Nevis is the closest thing to heaven and the nearest thing to, well, the nearest thing to heaven and the closest thing to paradise. I've never been to heaven, so I said the nearest thing. Paradise, this is as close as you'll get to paradise. There is none other. This is paradise, I should say. And many who would have come and enjoyed Nevis speak glowingly about it, and we thank them for doing so, because that's free advertising, free advertisement. When Nevis is mentioned in a positive way out there, it reflects on all of us, because all of us are responsible for this island we call Nevis, and to keep it the way it is, meaning making sure that it is beautiful and peaceful and welcoming to everyone. I close with those wonderful words, because every time I speak about Nevis, I get giddy up, as they say. But anyway, that was my quota for this afternoon. It was about an hour. I'm going to get something to eat now, because I'm now hungry, even though I spent my lunch hour here. It was my pleasure, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Thank you for listening. Join me again next week, same time at 1 p.m. here on the Caribbean's only powerhouse, Von Radio 860 AM or 93.7 FM. Have a good afternoon, have a wonderful and safe weekend, and continue to be the good people you are. Thank you very much.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcast